The Order of the Pawnee started at Camp Steer in 1926 by the founder of Camp Steer and our scout executive at the time, Mr. Steer. We really don't have a whole lot of hard rock. Yeah, this is how Mr. Steer came up with it, and all that kind of good stuff. And the PreOA Society was pretty much like everybody else's. They wanted to have something to honor the best campers of the week at camp. So what they would do, they would take recommendations from their scoutmaster and camp counselors. And those young men, Friday night after campfire, were pulled from their campsites and taken over to Copperhead Island, or Pawnee Point, which it was called as well, which is now part of Dow Park down there right before you go across the Buster Boy Bridge. Of course, Camp Steer is gone, but there is an honorable plaque that the people who bought the neighborhood did, explaining that there was a Boy Scout camp there from 1925 to 1987. This is a little bit of history, guys. And y'all can do this when you got leisure time. When Larry puts it up, you can read all this stuff. This is an interview that we did in 1975 with the last remaining guys. They have all passed now, so there are no living people that we are aware of that were actual members of the Pawnees anymore. They're all gone. What happened with us, we are one of the oldest councils in the state, but we are the second to the youngest lodge in the state. We did not form Catawba Lodge until 1951, and that is simply to do because they did not want to get rid of the Order of the Pawnee. It's something that had been working at camp for quite a while. It would honor Mr. Steer, and they just did not budge until Gene Grimes came up from Columbia as our field director, and he, beat on them until in July of 1951, we finally formed our lodge. This is just some more info, guys, on some of the interviews that were done with the last remaining Pawnee guys during the 75th anniversary of the OA. This is the only known Order of the Pawnee patch. And to me, what it looks like is O.A. Crenshaw, who was a section advisor and longtime lodge advisor for us and a DSA recipient, was a colonel in the Army. And I think he found these old Army patches that were probably given to him because it looks just like an Army patch to me. We've looked and looked and looked, couldn't find any squadron or anything that had this insignia on it. I cannot find any paperwork that shows where they were made, but I will tell you the box that I got it out of in a minute. It explains what all the pieces of the patch stand for that ties in with the Order of the Pawnee that we had. Pawnee pledging ceremony. Once they took you in the canoes over to Copperhead Island, this is the pledge that you took to become a part. And when we get to the pictures, I'll explain to you how they did each one of the different versions of it. There was no particular patch for a brave or a warrior or the chieftain. That was just done by the headdress and the vest. Here, guys, this is where it gets interesting. This next couple of slides you're going to find. I got a call one day from our scout executive, Leroy Main. Says, Larry, you got a box of OA crap down here. Please come get it out of the office. Okay, well, my thoughts were it was going to be more freaking mugs, because it seems to be that's the only thing that people want to give up are boxes and boxes and boxes of mugs. So I go down there and I open up this box, and guys, tears came to my eyes as I started to pull this stuff out. And the first thing I pulled out was a letter that said Order of the Pawnee. And I could see a headdress and a vest in there. And I started reading through all the paperwork. This is the actual pipe that you smoked when they put you in the circle to become a member of the Order of the Pawnee. So you had to smoke the pipe with the chief around the circle in the stockade. And the stockade, guys, as when you read through the presentation there, and I didn't want to read through all that stuff with you guys can read that at your own leisure. It explains to you actually what the stockade looked like. And it looked like a fort, sharpened poles at one end. They were all stained in a light grayish color, and it just stood in a circle with a double door that opened up, and you went into the Indian ground there. If you look at that Camp Cabarrus Croatan Lodge right there, Larry Lane and I believe, because at this time, the Central North Carolina Council At one time, that was all Charlotte Area Council, went all the way up to Pinehurst. Very, very large council. Well, we had two camps. We had Camp Steer and Camp Cabarrus. And we think this is the other PreOA society that was part of Mecklenburg Area Council, was the Croatan Lodge at Camp Cabarrus. All right, Larry, go down one. This is an actual article that Larry Lane found that explains to you in here, and again, read at your pleasure, and it'll tie in the patch, that talks about the induction ceremony into the order of the Croatan Lodge. So we actually had two PreOA societies within Mecklenburg Area Council in that time. This is a letter that was in that box of stuff that I was telling you guys about, that they gave out to all the inductees, explaining what the Order of the Pawnee was and what it stood for. Now, here's the good stuff. These are actual pictures of the chief, the medicine man, and the braves, and the guards of the gate. So in other words, when you came to the gate and you were getting ready to get entrance into the Order of the Pawnee, the two guys to your pictures on the right are the guys that you would have met that gave you entrance to come in and set your ordeal, as you call it. We don't know what they called that ceremony other than the Order of the Pawnee. And then you had the chiefs there on the left. This is some more of the artifacts that were found. This is actually, and unfortunately, guys, it's all there, but it's in the bottom. And I did not want to sew it back on because I thought it would take away the authenticity of it. But if you look at the vest at the very bottom in the V, you could see a couple lone little beads left there. The whole vest at one time was actually beaded all the way around it. It was probably a gorgeous thing for the day at the time. But the threads had rotten and they were all laying in the bottom of the box, and I picked them, the little blood beads, the little teeny rascals, and they're all different colors, and you can see a few of them left. If you look up there to the left, right there by the piece of pipe that I have the vest hanging on, you can see a couple of them hanging by just a thread right there. But again, all the outlines around that whole vest was all beaded. It was beautiful. It was probably a very beautiful thing. This is a notebook that was also in the box of stuff that I got. And each chief, which they had elections amongst everybody, and they elected a new chief every year, and that chief got to select his name that he was going to go by. So this is his notebook of notes throughout the year. And guys, I didn't want to flip through this too much because these pages were from early 1940. This one, if you see it, is the last meeting of the Pawnees. So this was probably right before they disbanded and we became Catawba Lodge. And you see the Chief Standing Deer was his name. These are some more pictures of the chief and the regalia of that chiefs at the time. And each of the chiefs got to make their own regalia. We only have one bonnet that was part of the box of stuff that I got, and it's on a dowel in the left-hand corner. But guys, it is in some rough shape, but it is there. And these are some more pictures of the Pawnees, the chief, and the warriors. The picture to the left, as you see, there's either one or two feather system. There was three left. There was the brave, the warrior, and the chief. Okay, and there was also a medicine man. And that was identified by, once you got into the tribe, you could come up with your own costume, but you could not wear feather headdress. That was only for the chief. And you could not do anything to your feathers. They had to stay the way they were presented to you. Now, you could bead a headband if you wanted to put your feather in, but you could not do anything else to the feather. You couldn't pretty it up or put any more fluffies on it or anything like that. You had to leave it just as it was. Now, if you were when you were an inductee and you became a warrior, you were presented a second feather that you could also add to your headband. Again, just some more of his notes. This one is from July the 20th, 1941. And I gather that these are the people that attended the meeting here that you see on the right-hand side. Now, this is Mr. Penbrook. We cannot authenticate this, but we think Mr. Penbrook, there on the right, the one with the headdress on it. And the reason he has a headdress as an adult, he is the one who helped Mr. Steer come up with all the bylaws and everything for the Order of the Pawnee. And that is his son there to the left, who was a dancer before, the dance team was even thought about with any lodges. We actually had dancing Indians that would perform during your induction ceremony in the stockade. And there to the left, you'll see some more. You see all these guys pretty much have two feathers, so they were all warriors. This is a newsletter called the Pawnee Group that they produced and sent out. I don't know, quarterly, yearly, have no earthly idea, but this one is dated July 24th, 1935. And this was in that Chief's box of paperwork as well. And guys, this is better than opening up that G.I. Joe with a Kung Fu grip Christmas morning when I got this box, let me tell you. Because at that time, all we had heard about was the rumors of the Order of the Pawnee and listening to O.A. Crenshaw talk about the Order of the Pawnee, but he had absolutely no paperwork. And I thought once his son Frank passed away here 2 years ago, and I got all of Frank's paperwork, that I would find some more stuff on the Order of the Pawnee, but never found. This is the only stuff I've ever had my hands on, guys. And this is just the next two slides. This slide is just more continuation. They talk about things that happened at summer camp, who had the best scores, and of course the guys with the best scores and the good grades from the council are the guys that got, called out for the Order of the Pawnee.
So,
hey Larry, this
how wide
Smith.
an area did it go? Was it just Charlotte, Mecklenburg, or how?
The Order of the Pawnee was just our end of Charlotte and the Huntersville, Cornelia, Davison area, and the Croatan Lodge went from where Central NC is now, all that area up through there when we were Charlotte Area Council.
So John Thomas isn't speaking, but y'all might want to click the links. And if you haven't, let me just share my screen. Doesn't this look familiar? Isn't that something?
It does, doesn't it? Yes, it does. And like I said, guys, the only thing that we can think of is O.A. Crenshaw found these things somewhere on an Army base. And they said, yeah, you can take them. And that's what they use because it looks just like from the old 1930s Army uniforms, that brownish twill color. It's exactly what it looks like to me.
If y'all look at those links, you'll see that John Thomas has got the scouts wearing them. And I mean, they hit that logo very well. And it'd be very interesting to see if someone from Chattanooga, professionals, what we've seen to find how this stuff got spread around the country.
I'll jump on that for just a second. A couple years ago, Joseph Hupp actually got a patch that he thought was a Tribal Pawnee patch from Matthew Delk out of the dollar bin. But anyways, he did some research, and that may be the links. I haven't had a chance to look at them that you just shared, but he found a very, very similar patch was issued by a troop out of, I think, New York or something like that. And it was a troop award as well. So I'll see if I can find the links because there was a lot of information that Joseph Hupp found on that at the time.
And this out of Chattanooga was called the Fire Trailers Clan, it looks like. And so it's funny how things may have been shared from council to council and then changed around to fit whatever it is that they wanted to do. We're starting to see how it integrates from one part of the country to another. So I think all of that has a lot to do with, if you really want to understand the Order of the Era, what went on at the same time